Hey there guys, how's it going? Welcome to another video. In this one I'm going to be giving you 10 tips for surviving Scorched Earth PvP. Now some of these tips are going to be useful for you whether you're on Scorched Earth or not, and they're going to be viable for either map or whichever map you want to play, but some of these tips are going to be very specific to Scorched Earth and all of them are going to be useful for Scorched Earth at least. A very difficult map, a very difficult DLC to survive and thrive, especially during PvP servers, so I'm going to be giving you 10 tips that you guys will hopefully find useful and that will help you in your quest to stay alive. Starting off with a tip that is, well, important no matter what map you're playing on. Choose your tribe wisely, guys. I know it can be difficult to find people to play with. Some of you are fortunate to have a lot of people that you know that play. If you don't, do whatever you can to find good tribe mates. It makes all the difference. Go on community Ark websites. I've got my own Discord channel where a lot of people find people to play Ark with. Just look around the best you can and then choose carefully. Try and be a good judge of character because it can make a huge difference. And to be honest, sometimes just having two members in a tribe of people that are reliable and that work well together is better than having 3 or 4 when the others can be a little bit of a wild card. Next tip, again one that is relevant to no matter what PvP server you're playing on. Choose a leader, or at least focus on one job at a time and try to agree on doing one thing at a time. I understand with some groups of friends it can be difficult to appoint one person or another person as choosing what you do and don't do, and that can cause some arguments, but at the very least get on well together and try and make sure you can come to some decisions together to focus on what's important, and use someone that is probably the most experienced to choose what is important and focus on that task. You wouldn't believe the amount you can get done when you are all on the same task, and you also wouldn't believe the amount of time you can waste while you're just bickering over what to do. One person's trying to build some foundations, another person's trying to get this set up and that set up. Obviously multiple things do need to be done at the same time sometimes, but as much as you can, try and focus on one goal. Get your heads down, get it done, and I promise you, you'll end up being more productive, and that will give you the edge over the other tribes on the server. Most tribes on PvP servers aren't very organized, and the ones that are, they have focus and they just knuckle down, get certain things done at the right time. They are the ones that thrive and survive. Next tip is the final one that revolves around this whole making a good tribe scenario, and this is have a plan. Have a plan as what you want to do. Try not to think too much on the fly. Try and have a set plan out what you're going to be doing over the next few days and in what order. That will also make sure that if you forget to do something, you can be like, we said we were going to get these adobe walls done later on today and it's night time already, we haven't got them done. Whereas if you're just sporadic in your thinking and you're just doing things on the fly as they occur, now don't get me wrong, it can be difficult to survive. You've got to be able to survive first before planning out what you're going to do, but that again is part of the plan. Part 1 of the plan, survive. Part 2, get to this stage, then get to that stage. Try and have a decent plan, try and remember it, even write it down if you have to, so you don't forget to do important things, so you don't find yourself missing out. For instance, sometimes I've got to a decent level with my tribe and then we've completely forgot to plant any plants whatsoever. We've got to do any farming, so we went to get kibble and we've realized, hold on, we don't have any savroot, we don't have any raw carrots. So make sure you have a plan, get it executed, and don't forget the important things that will need to be done. The next tip, obviously this is extremely important for any server, but even more so if you're playing on Scorched Earth. Find a good base location. Now your base location can depend on how strong of a tribe you are, what kind of plans do you have. You're a big tribe who plans to be a dominant force. Are you a small tribe or solo who really should just keep a little bit more hidden but needs easy access to things like metal and certain things like that? You know, think about what you want to do as a tribe and where you intend to get to, and then build a base location based off of that. Now sometimes, especially on the island, I would suggest going for the more difficult areas where the good resources are. However, on Scorched Earth it can be really difficult, especially on official servers, to even the biggest and best, most experienced tribes to do well in some of the harder areas. So no matter what stage you're at, no matter how experienced you are, I would personally recommend surviving in some of the easier areas, so quite near to water. Obviously in the south there is all of those water wells that you can access, all of those water veins even that you can then put a well on. In the north it's quite difficult. The obelisks are going to be difficult because sometimes you can have people around there, but go and find somewhere that has easy access to the easy materials. I'm going to be doing a whole video based on base location, so I'm not going to go too in depth here, but think about all the things that you need to survive. You need hide, you need wood, thatch, stone. You don't need metal yet, so is it important to build right there right now, or do you want to go somewhere that is near metal? All of these things are super key, and also because rock elementals are a big deal in this game, it is quite a good idea to try and build on a bottleneck, somewhere that is out of reach from most angles, but one angle in particular you can walk to. Obviously building up high is great, but if you can't get to it early on, that's going to be very much a problem. So obviously just a few general tips there, but base location is key. I'll go more into that in another video. So let's talk about a couple of general survival tips for early game and PvP or non-PvP. This is obviously very important. Now, BOLAS are a huge thing in Scorched Earth. There is a lot of aggressive dinos and creatures out there in Scorched Earth. However, most of the ones you come across, bar the Carno, can be bolaed. Most of the aggressive ones, like a terror bird, a dire wolf, obviously a saber tooth as well. They are everywhere, but they can be bolaed. So getting bolas is absolutely key to being able to survive, especially when you're early on just looking for a base location, all that kind of thing. So focus on getting that easy hide that is available. Obviously you've got the Jaboas, the easiest source of hide. You've got Listros, another easy source of hide. Even the thorny dragons are quite an easy source of hide. They don't have much health. They can be difficult if they actually manage to hit you directly, but they can be easy hide as well. So make sure you get lots and lots of hide from easy sources. Don't just pass by a Jaboa and don't get the kill, or obviously if you want to tame it, that's one thing, but make sure you get that so you can make as many bolas as possible, because they will run out fast and they are absolutely key when generally walking around in the environment. Next tip is about the bow and arrow. The proper use of your bow and arrow can absolutely save your life in many situations, and obviously it's quite a low tier weapon that even as a high tier character I end up using all the time against dinos. And obviously this is a lot of PvE tips. I will talk about some PvP stuff as well, but PvE is the most important part of a PvP server, because most of the time you're going to be surviving in the environment, farming, making sure you've got everything you need. So it's a very important part that I want to talk about. But when it comes to bow and arrows, this is an interesting topic. I have said in previous videos that the further you pull back the arrow, the more damage it does, and that has been relevant in some versions of Survival of the Fittest and in some updates. However, at the moment it does seem like for the most part, no matter how much you pull back the arrow, it's going to have a decent effect, a decent amount of damage on the dino, and you can fire off arrows extremely quickly. If you let go of that bow, as soon as it gets to the point where it will actually release and fire the arrow, you can do a lot of damage very quickly. Just go test it out yourself, maybe on the training dummy, maybe in single player. Test out pulling the bow all the way back and firing, see how much DPS you can do. Then again, test out just doing it quickly, as quick as you can, pulling back the arrow just a tiny bit, and see how much DPS you can do. Not only is this an important tip when it comes to taming and all that obviously, but it's quite important to also know with your bow and arrow which dinos have a headshot hitbox. This can make a huge difference in the amount of damage you do to a dino, and sometimes you'll be shooting a dino in the head when they don't have a headshot hitbox, so it's unnecessary. For example, a very good example in fact is a T-Rex. It has an absolutely huge overall body. Obviously the head is still a big target area, but there's absolutely no need to aim for the head with a T-Rex. You'll not do any more damage. However, some things, especially the flyers and I think saber tooths as well, you will do more damage with the headshots no matter what it is, using a pike or using your bow and arrow. So when using your bow and arrow, it is very important to realize which dinos do have a headshot hitbox, and to find out all the details of that, you can actually check out the Dodo Dex. Just search that. That's an app you can download and it will show you which animals have a headshot hitbox, and if I can, I'll make sure to put a link in the description to that. Check that out, get to know the dinos, get to know which ones have a headshot multiplier and which ones don't. The next tip is when it comes to building. Now, if you've watched my PvP videos, you'll know how firmly I believe in this. Playing Ark PvP, it's a race against time to get yourself to the high-end tech level and also get to your base to a point where it's really difficult to raid. I mean, the harder your base is to raid, the more it's going to put people off and the less likely you are to be raided. Not only is it safer, but like I say, the less likely people are to actually go for it. So that means it's good on two fronts. So my tip is build small and build smart. Not only does it make you more secure, but building bigger bases just exponentially increases the amount of of materials that you're going to need to actually keep yourself safe, like by a huge amount. I'll try and get some numbers if I can, but if you have a small base and you want to double layer it, the amount of materials you're going to need to double layer that base compared to a bigger base, maybe 5x5 foundations, is an absolutely huge amount in the difference in the amount of materials you're going to need. And especially on official servers or low gather servers where you're not going to be able to gather that amount of stuff quickly, just build as small as you can while still being functional, and then layer that. Once you've layered a small base and you're very strong, and possibly once you're even one of the strongest tribes on the server and you're gathering things quickly now with good dinos and good materials and good weapons, then maybe thinking about starting a bigger plan. Start something bigger and bolder that you can move to, and then eventually put your stuff in. But especially at the start, do not over or even underestimate the amount of resources you'll need to build your base, because so many times, I would say 90% of the builds that I see in Ark are too big. They're bigger than they need to be, and it's all about time management when it comes to Ark PvP. Like I said, it's a race against the other tribes, so time management is very important. That time that you spent building those extra walls that you did, the extra foundations to keep yourself safe, you could have been taming a different dino, you could have been gathering a different resource, so on and so on. So build small, build smart, build functional. Don't forget you can use catwalks and things to layer things on if you don't have a lot of room. Very, very important tip, will keep you safe early on and also will mean that you waste less time. Next up, a couple of tips when it comes to tames. Tames are extremely important on Scorched Earth, as they are on any server. So absolutely make the effort to get yourself at least a couple, and as quick as you can. I know the saddle isn't unlocked until you're quite high level, but get yourself an Argent. An Argent is such a strong tame on Scorched Earth. It is also a strong tame, obviously, on any server, on any game, on any map. But Scorched Earth, again, extra so, because there is no Pteranodon, obviously, no real low-level flyer. They have the moths, but they don't really have the carry weight. But until you can get the Argent, that is a good thing to get. But you absolutely should focus on at least getting yourself one or two of these. Again, quite a good tame to get early on is a Saber or a Direwolf. Quite easy to knock out, quite easy to tame. They will help you if you're just trying to survive and go around. So don't forget about tames. But like I say, for any real PvP scenarios, really try and focus on getting yourself to that Argent level, because an Argentavis on Scorched Earth, like on many other maps, is an absolute game changer. The ability to have a lot of stamina, travel a long way, go to bases and have carry weight, all that kind of stuff, extremely important. Now, to get these tames, you might want to get yourself some early Morellatops as well. Obviously, you need to get that berry gatherer, but the general tip is do focus on a couple of tames and mainly focus on getting yourself to that Argentavis level and everything needed to get to that level beforehand. Don't forget about tames, very important. They're a big part of the game. Now, my final tip, I guess this is a bit of a bonus tip, but that is play the long game. Now, this is obviously dependent on what kind of server you're on. If you're playing on an extinction server, there's no point in playing the long game, but from my experiences, when it comes to official PvP servers, it's a good idea to not get too aggressive too quickly. You'd be surprised how quickly the server can gang up on you, and no matter how strong you are, within limits. Obviously, if you have like a 50-man server, all very good experience, and you just completely wipe the server, that's one thing. But for the most part, no matter how strong you are, you're not stronger than the whole server. So be careful, pick and choose your battles. Do you really need to raid that small base that doesn't seem to have anything in, when you won't really get anything back from it? Think carefully about who you're raiding and be strategic about it. Obviously, raiding is a fun part of Ark and it's something that you'll want to do, obviously, but think about what you could lose in the raid and only really go for raids where you feel like you're going to get more back than you used actually doing it. Unless obviously it's just that you need to take over a dominant force that is kind of annoying your tribe or something. For the most part, when it comes to raid, pick and choose carefully. Don't get too aggressive unless it's maybe extinction, where obviously we play very aggressive in extinction, but just pick and choose. Still raid, but maybe just hold back a little bit. Maybe just don't see blood every single time you see someone. Have a little think about what is worth doing and play a little bit of politics, and you tend to find you'll probably have a much better experience. So those are my tips for staying alive and surviving on Scorched Earth. Obviously, some of those points are going to help you guys in all kinds of PvP experiences, but I do plan on doing a advanced tips series. Let me know if you'd be interested in me doing some advanced tips. Obviously here, we really just talked about the early days of surviving on PvP and just tips for building, that kind of stuff. I'll be interested to know, do you guys want to see some more tips maybe when it comes to the actual PvP, like good ways to raid people, effective ways to raid, what dinos you should use when raiding, what dinos you should use in PvP and how to use them, and so on and so on. Let me know in the comment section below if you'd like that as well. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button, and obviously you can check out some more of my Ark videos. They're on my page. Go check them out, and obviously subscribe if you're new. But that's it from me for now, guys. I'll see you all next time.